y'all doing? My name is Randa Stratton-Dutcher, and this is Going Dutch, a podcast that calls from my heart to yours. Thank you for coming to visit. I believe that we learn more about ourselves in the listening of others, and it is my hope that in sharing, you will hear the messages and call God is sending to you. So wherever you are, know you are loved and cared for. Take a deep breath. Let's have a chat. Welcome back to the Going Dutch podcast. We have the amazing Glenn Lovelace. Is it Lovelace or Loveless?
Either one, but Lovelace, yeah. L-A-C-E.
That's what I thought. I should have asked that before.
Yeah.
With me, we have like a few degrees of separation.
Yeah.
In that he's married to my brother-in-law is his brother-in-law, but he's married to my brother-in-law's sister.
Yes.
That makes sense.
It's probably confusing, but we're
very confusing. We're not
friends.
Related, but we're friends. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally.
And I met Glenn at, what was it? It was Jennifer Nelson's event.
Yeah, that would have been Unstoppable back in September of 22. So it's been two and a half years, probably.
2.5 years.
Yeah, you're missing a year, but that's okay.
Well, last year was a little nutty, so
I know.
I just want to skip over it.
Yep, for sure.
So we met there, and I want you to just tell us, what do you do?
Yeah.
Because your life is fascinating. You've had a lot of success in different arenas, and I should say he's got a handful of kids, married to an amazing lady, and you've had a wild ride the last 2 years. So please share.
No, it's always a wild ride, and we have 2 handfuls of kids. We have 7 kids, 5 boys and 2 girls. Never thought I would have this many kids, but I'm so glad we do, and I'm so glad we're done. But currently I coach men, and I target men who have a business. And I also love working with men whose wives have had a transformation through therapy, coaching, and personal development. I feel like men in that situation have a lot of opportunities to have the kind of support that they need to really do their work. So I've been coaching since 2008. I've had, almost 4,000 one-on-one clients since then.
Wow.
So quite a bit. And I've done all kinds of jobs. So when I started coaching, I was working at UPS, kind of that 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift.
Wow.
And I also got involved with fire and EMS for about 4 years. So I was doing all 3 at the same time. And it was about 90 to 100 hours a week for about 4 years. So it's, I've done all kinds of stuff though. And that's kind of the pretty normal, I think, for a lot of guys I talk to. They jump and jump and jump and jump. And finally, I'm like, man, I wonder why things aren't really working out for me. And it's because I was restarting my life over and over and having a hard time getting traction. You mentioned my wife, Amber. She is a total monster, like in all the good ways. But I've had a lot of growth because of her. In 2013, just kind of sharing a little bit of the details, I actually had a gun in my hand, just super overwhelmed and ready to be done. And I think I was blaming a lot of my problems on her. But we had lost a house in 2011. We were suing the contractor for like 4 years, just kind of ran out of money and just very kind of emotionally and mentally bankrupt as well.
Yeah.
So we moved out, and then a year later, I lost my primary source of income for a year, and just arguing with my wife, like I was just so inadequate to handle someone who was very aware of what she was thinking and feeling. And after I started kind of doing my work, I realized that I wanted to hurt her by hurting myself. And it's a pretty dark thought, but it just was kind of my truth at the time. And so I think it speaks volumes to honestly how lucky I am to be married to Amber and how willing she is to step into, truth and fight for what's right. And I will say one more thing. I used to think that fighting was really disrespectful. I used to look at anger and be like, man, how and why are you so angry about this, that, and the other? Like, I would never put this much energy into this. And so that was kind of the source of a lot of my pain and problems, was my own inadequacies. But the thing that really shifted was I saw that she was fighting for us, which was really cool because it made it so that her behavior didn't need to change so that I could do more. So in a nutshell, we've been married about 20 years. This year will be 21 years. She turns 40 this year, so I'm excited for her. I'll be 43. And just coaching is my business. It's full time. It's all I do. And we're signing up for more adventures every year, and it's been fun.
And they'll never end. It'll
never end.
When you have that many kids, it's always going to be an adventure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is the name of your business?
Well, on my S Corp, C Corp, it's PCH Marketing, and the PCH stands for Progress Creates Happiness. I'm really big on just making a little bit of progress. In terms of coaching, you can kind of see this one day, one life mantra behind me. And that came to fruition in 2017. I won this big fitness contest. They paid me $100,000 and they interviewed me. And at the very end of the interview, I just said, hey, we all have one life to live. Let's live it. And so as I was kind of growing my own personal brand, I was trying to find my message, or one of the messages. And this one day, one life kind of came out of that. And what's been really cool with that message, so you ask about coaching and the name, the 1D, 1L, just kind of for me has been this idea that when I'm making decisions today from the regrets of yesterday and the fears of tomorrow, then I really mess up the time and opportunity I have today. Then I kind of double down on creating more regrets if I'm making choices from fear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, people can find me on glennlovelace.com, and I've kind of got a wingman brand and a couple other things, but yeah, just coaching and this, it's all centered around this living, every day that we can. So when I was doing that interview, it was about 4 years after my, suicide attempt. And I was pretty determined to never tell anybody about my secret, about my dark night and my low point. And in this interview, it just came out. Like, it came out of me. And so it was just an opportunity to kind of share something. And I had no intentions, but it just organically came out. And as soon as it did, it just became, like anything, you become empowered over the thing that you have so much shame around.
Yeah.
And things just kind of build on itself, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah. Wow. And then was it a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
You were in a life-altering accident.
So in June of 2023, I had a really bad accident on my mountain bike. I broke my neck in 3 places, broke my back, broke a bunch of ribs. I destroyed my left arm here, had what's called a terrible triad. And I'm left arm dominant. So everything I do has been disrupted. I can curl like 2 to 5 pounds right now with it is all. I can't do any push-ups or pull-ups. But in the accident, I probably had 12 doctors come into the hospital because they life flighted me, and from one hospital to the next, and I finally made it to Salt Lake. But I probably had 10 or 12 doctors come in and be like, so, and they're like holding their charts and everything, right? And they're looking at me and looking at the charts, and they're like, so you can move your toes? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, and you can walk. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I've been stuck in this bed for 5 days. And they're like, well, not to be weird with you, but you should be dead. Like, we don't even know how you're not dead, let alone feeling.
Yeah.
And it didn't really set in. Like, I didn't really have this fear of death come over me or anything like that. And then about 5 days in, they were going to send me home. I had a pulmonary embolism, and they rushed me off and did all these scans, and they caught it just in time. And so, this accident has completely disrupted finances, relationships, my own self-worth, what I can do and how I do it. Even my kids, they're like, man, we don't have any fun anymore. And so, yeah, it's been a deepening experience for me. As you probably know, but I'll share with the listeners, I'm writing a book called Heal the Boy and Forge the Man. Heal the Boy, Forge the Man. And so going through this accident, it's kind of forced me to live this book and relive it 2 or 3 times while writing it. And so, yeah, I'm a new depth. I have new depth and new value as a man trying to go through this experience of just having what feels like everything taken from me and just being in a bed for 6 months.
Yeah.
And having my wife shower me every 4 or 5 days and just being so alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been very fun.
It's an intense experience.
It is. Fun. Yeah, no, there's been times where, I'll be honest, like, I didn't really want to live through that situation, and just kind of attacking myself and my own self-worth and value and what I can do because of all the things I couldn't do. And so, yeah, I just have a whole new admiration for, our military veterans and anybody who's been in an accident, people with chronic pain and disabilities. And I think I appreciated them before, but now I can relate on a whole new level. And it is one of those things. I don't know, Randa, if you have kind of the hard things you go through, it's like, if you could go back, would you change anything? And generally I'm like, no, I like who I am. Like, I would probably go through that again. And on this one, it's a big question mark. Like, I have to really play with it because my natural reaction is, I'd go back in a second. And then I start looking at all the miracles. I start looking at all the wisdom and knowledge and my own change of heart.
Yeah.
And I get really honest with myself, and I'm like, you know what? I think I would keep this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
I think it's the experiences that, I don't know if attack is the right word, but attack our ego the most.
Yeah.
That are the ones the hardest to say that you would do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I always say I would do our divorce over again, but I don't know that I would be pregnant and go through the divorce again. I would do the divorce part again, but being pregnant and divorce, that was
next level.
I don't want to do that again. Well, yeah. I'm in my late 40s now, so that's never going to happen. So.
Yeah. No, and I think it's easy to once you're on the other side, the miracle of things really is not waiting till you're on the other side to see the lessons and the value and the wisdom.
Yeah.
And so, like, you got, I'm assuming, a beautiful human out of that really tough situation.
Yes, I did.
And same thing, we had baby number 7 while I was like in a full neck brace, like almost a halo. People are like, they're like doing the math. They're like, so you were in bed, almost paralyzed, and you conceived. And I'm like, well, I guess.
What else are you gonna do?
I guess you're right. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, these things are really, really tough.
Yeah.
And in the moment, I really think how we can participate with God and the miracles of it all is, in the heat of it all, is just to be like, really willing to step into the wisdom and the lessons and watch for the daily miracles and even ask for them. And man, we were very touched by God to watch for the miracles. And so we have a really big mirror in our bathroom, like really big vanity. And we just started using one of those dry erase markers, and we filled the entire mirror with miracles, big and small.
Yeah.
And we eventually had to put it to paper, bring it all down, and the miracles haven't stopped just because the dry erase marker stopped. And it's been very, very humbling and also rewarding to kind of do life a little bit different, where you kind of submit to what's given, but still try to use your agency to create results too. So
yeah, that is a fine line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. It's like it's like that story of the guy that's in a flood and he asks God to save him, and he gets a helicopter and a boat and I can't remember what else, and he kept saying, no, God's going to save me. And then at the end of the day, he still died. And God's like, why didn't you go on all of those things? I sent them all to save you.
Right. No, totally.
And it's like when, I'll speak for myself, when I am in a struggle moment, it's so hard to see the possibilities. Even if the possibility is right there, I discount it like, oh, no, but I can't use that.
Right.
And yet it keeps coming up and it's like, oh, but I don't want to use that. But that is the miracle that he keeps showing me.
Right.
But my fear keeps telling me, no, it's not real. It's not real. And it really is a consistent effort of taking my ego out of all of it and taking action, a small action at a time.
Yeah, it's a paradigm shift, or a shift in how you think. So just like I shared with Amber in the fighting, right? It's like she's disrespecting me, I feel disrespected, now I show up disrespectful. I'm the one acting out. I'm the one name calling, breaking things, humiliating myself. But I had a shift in that she's fighting for us. And I had a shift that I go to the gym to hurt myself. Why wouldn't I go into the workout with my wife and work things out? Like, this is a mental, maybe physical, emotional workout that I need to push through. And so when we're coming back to God, hard times, and miracles, the thing I've learned over the years is like, where is God? And instead of finding the ways he's not there for me, I look for all the ways that he is. And it can be really, really small things. Like, I was doing an energy work session with a gal. I think she's like $120 an hour or something. And I didn't have the money, to be honest, but I was at a spot where I'm like, I just need anything to move and to shift.
Yeah.
I schedule my session and I show up and we do the session. And at the end, I'm like, okay, can I Venmo you or credit card? And she's like, well, you just owe me $20. And I'm all, $20. I'm like, Shauna, like, I know what this costs. She's like, well, someone covered, and they were very specific about the amount. And I was like, wow. And then in my mind, I remembered that I had $20 in my wallet out in the car. And so I'm like, you know what, Shauna, I'm not going to Venmo you. I need to give you this cash, because for me, there's meaning behind this.
Yeah.
And I just had this feeling, because I was so full of doubt over finances and how things were gonna pan out. And we'd had all these other miracles along the way that should be like, Glenn, like, things will work out.
Yeah.
They keep working out. And it was just a really simple reminder that for me, God was saying, Glenn, I know exactly how much money you have to the dollar. And let go of some of this fear. Trust the process, keep showing up, but I totally see you. And it was like this $20 little thing. And I could have easily just brushed it off and been like, hey, wow, my lucky day. Finally, I catch a break. But instead it was like, wow, he really knows where I'm at. So Oh, I wanted to say,
Yeah.
you're talking about the helicopter and the boat, right?
Yeah.
And the flood, and the guy drowns. He gets to heaven.
Yeah.
Where were you, God? And he's like, dude, I came for you. So one of the other parables or analogies I like is the donkey and the farmer. Have you heard that one?
Yeah. I actually just heard it again this morning, and I posted it on my stories.
Oh, no kidding.
About the well and the donkey, and he's climbing up.
Yeah, so the story goes like the donkey falls in the well, and the farmer starts throwing dirt on him, and I'm sure the donkey's like, what the hell? Like, are you burying me alive? Like, you're just giving up on me? And the donkey shakes it off, stomps on it. More dirt comes, shakes it off, stomps on it, and slowly he's able to rise out of the well. And I feel like sometimes these things that we're presented with, whether it's our own choices, like I really think we need to take more personal accountability and stop being so much a victim of life and what our parents did or didn't do and all the things that can happen, and really just be like, okay, this is the dirt, and I need to process this and do my work, and eventually, that creates your value as a person because you pushed through it and you shook it off, even though it felt like life was trying to bury you alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to be really transparent. This is like everything you've said is exactly what I needed to hear today, because guy, I don't cry very easily these days. So thanks, Glenn.
Dude, I cry and laugh almost daily. I don't even know what's wrong with me.
So I said yes to Mose Masters. I got up on that stage, and then on Thursday, I was so gung-ho, but I was tired at the end of the day. Right. And then I started contemplating, what am I going to do?
Right.
And then it just like tanked me. And then I had this thought, I'm going to die if I don't do this program. But also I can't say yes to it. So I just have to die. Like, either way, I'm dying tomorrow. I don't know how that's happening. And I woke up Friday and I still was just like in the depths of darkness. And I said no on Friday. I was like, nah, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday morning, I woke up, and the problem was this. I don't have a big ticket item because I've said I don't want to coach anymore. It's not my genius. I can do it, but I don't love it. And it doesn't like fuel me. So I wake up Saturday morning and I'm like, a big ticket item is getting on stages and speaking and singing. Like that is my genius. I've been performing since I was 3. Like I have to have an audience. Like, that's what I need. And I need more than one person. And I was like, oh my gosh, Randa, how small-minded. So I said yes again. And then it comes to today, I'm supposed to put a deposit down, and I'm like, I told my husband, like he does the majority of the, I don't know what finances.
Yeah.
I'm a stay-at-home mom. And anyway, I told him, like, my dad died last year. I was left some things. I'm like, okay, if I have to sell or take a loan on some of these things, like, I'm going to do this myself. Otherwise, I'm not going to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
But this morning I woke up and, gosh, I can't do this. I can't. I only have one credit card that's really like mine, and I just paid it off. Like, I paid that off. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to put money on it, but that's like the only thing I have in this very moment. And so then I heard that analogy of the farmer and the donkey, and then you're talking about, just having faith. And that's been my thought all morning. I just need to have faith, and God's just really telling me to trust that this is where I'm supposed to go. And money has been my conversation for a long time, and this is where I get to have a breakthrough in that. And it's going to be a little bit of I'm in the bottom of the well, I feel. It's going to be a little beat up, but I'm going to figure it out. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question or two?
Mm-hmm.
So one of those is, we all have our beliefs around money, like whatever stage of money growth we're at, right?
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite questions for myself and for potential clients, and it's for you to consider and obviously answer if you want to, but if Mose Masters, if it weren't about the money, is it a yes or a hell yes?
Yeah. And this was my answer yesterday. I was a total hell yes yesterday. I'm like, it's not about the money. It's going to be fine.
Right. So if that's your answer and you feel like that's mine, I own it, then the shift needs to go to, well, then how do I creatively come up with the money?
Yeah.
And now we're shifting away from, this is too much, this is irresponsible, I don't deserve this, what am I doing? Can I actually do this? And now our brain starts asking another question, which is, well, let's sell a horse trailer or use a credit card or donate plasma or get on stage, for crying out loud, because that's what you really want to do. And then it's like, now you got to deal with the next set of obstacles and keep moving through it. So
you're reading my mind. You're reading my mind.
And I don't know if you want to share what Mose Masters is, how much it costs. But when I left the event, I gave Kira a hug, and I said, Kira, I don't know why I said this, but you know how Kira is. She just draws the crazy out of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I said, Kira, it's a yes to both. And in the back of my mind, I was like, someday, or I don't know. And so I didn't stay for the next 2 days. I didn't have the right dress and my beard was too long. And it was a gals only event, but
you had a different chromosome.
Yeah. And so I was driving back to Vegas, and I was just having a creative prayer with God, and I said, God, if it weren't for the money, I would totally love this. Like, I could totally see myself thriving in this opportunity, but I'm practical. I know what the last 1.5 to 3 years has done to wife, kids, family, hobbies, fun, all the things, and we're blessed. Like, we're super spoiled, but there are things that my family wants and needs too.
Yeah.
And the number amount just, it doesn't even make sense, right? So I'm having this prayer with God, and I'm like, play with me here a little bit and just show me a creative way to do this. And he showed me a way. And it wasn't like there was pressure that I had to say yes, because sometimes I think we fear that if we say yes to something or write a big goal down, that we're gonna have to do it, and then we're gonna suffer whether we do it or not. It wasn't anything like that. But after he kind of inspired me with an option, I just felt this really strong, like, it's there if you want it, but it's gonna take some work. And I was all excited. Talked to Amber, she gave me the thumbs up, and I went to bed all buzzing. And then the next morning, that gulf of like total misery and what did I just do set in. And I've been there so many times, I just kind of basked in the suffering. It was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be alive. This is what it feels like to be human and pushing into things that I don't know how to do yet. This is it. Like, this is like this whole one day, one life thing where it's like, if you don't do it, how many people get to that end of life situation and now they're like, I didn't do this and the call was coming, and I didn't do this and the call came, and I didn't do this and I didn't trust myself or the opportunities. And so one way to stay committed to this is keep talking about it. As terrible as it sounds, you just keep committing yourself. So I've told a few people about my idea, and they're like, Glenn, you have to.
Yeah.
And then you tell people that you're close to, and they're kind of like, ooh, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
they come off negative, but they're really just trying to protect you from
Right.
disappointment and failure and maybe other things.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Or protect themselves from holding the bag when you're like falling apart.
Yeah, totally. And really all we got to do is just be like, hey, you've got this call inside of you. Let's help each other figure it out.
Yeah.
And when we move through that, all kinds of crazy opportunities come up. Like you mentioned Unstoppable. Do you know how that got funded, that event?
Yes. Yeah, Jennifer got a amount of money from her dad who'd passed away.
Yeah.
Like a long time investment. It was like years and years later.
Right. So one of the speakers there charged 100, 125, 150 grand just to show up, right?
Right, right.
And then that exact amount came through after they had committed to this big, audacious, impossible thing.
Yeah.
And it became this crazy catalyst for them to just be like all in on something. And that's a big one, you know?
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
I know. I won't lie. I did go tearing through the barn over the weekend. Like, surely my dad hid some money in here somewhere.
Right. You're going through all of his old suit coats and his old books and diaries.
I already did that. I'm literally going through all of the rope boxes and the old saddles and the all
totally.
The things. Yeah,
all the coffee cans and
there's got to be one buried.
So then it's kind of like, for those who are listening, it's like like all this stuff sounds fluffy or nice or good for you guys for doing big crazy stuff, and it's like, how do we get listeners to answer their own calls, even if they're small ones? Because some of the calls I see are like, even in marriages where one spouse is extremely hurt, dissatisfied, not content, really wanting to cause change, but they don't know how to put a request with a consequence in place without it leading to separation and divorce. And so that one big conversation is the big thing. And if they don't have it, then they're living out of their integrity and like just numbing out and doing all the things that we do as humans, right?
Right. Yeah, so that's a good question. How do you get listeners to do that? I don't know. I'm a big believer in you hear yourself and other people's stories.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, I guess that's the basis of this whole podcast, is just talking about people's stories.
Yeah.
And so I think that no matter what situation someone's in, it might be the same or very vastly different than what we've experienced. That they can at least see themselves in some sort of detail and be like, okay, you know what? I can be the donkey in the well today, and I might be getting some dirt on my back, but I'm going to shake it off and I'm going to step up, and then I'm going to step up again. And gosh, if we could just do that as a community and make a big difference. And so I think you're right. I think, how can we not?
Yeah, I think sharing our stories of suicide, death, divorces, seemingly unwanted pregnancies, and crazy timing and all the stuff, hopefully it inspires people to be like, wow, I don't want that story. I do have mine. I'm going to accept this and just know that if I keep shaking and stepping, that things will pan out. And so one of the things I was having a problem with back in 2016, 17 was this working 3 jobs, really trying to force life. And I really thrived in being busy and accomplishing, but there were other parts of my life that had so many consequences. Like my wife was overworked, overstressed, overburdened by the kids. And not that the kids are an unwanted burden, but she was just doing it alone.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And I was providing in one way, but not providing in others. And in a lot of ways, I was missing out on diapers and bedtime tickles and all the stuff that come with having little kids. And so I was called or invited or inspired to do that fitness challenge. And I was like, I really planted my flag with that. And I said, hey, I'm going to win. Like, I'm not just going to do this to get a six pack or get in better shape, like I want the 100 grand because that 100 grand is going to help my family and all the things. And so,
Yeah.
I went all in. I took leave of absence. I used vacation time. I sacrificed everything, put it all on the table, had a lot of arguments and confrontations over how I was spending my time. But I knew, like, I just knew
Yeah.
that I could do this. And as the story goes, I kind of got 3 weeks away from finishing, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror. And of course, I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed, all the things at the end of the day. And I start beating myself up. And I was like, there is no way I can do this. Like, I've never done this before. So I don't really know how fast my body can get results.
Yeah.
And there's no way it's going to change that much in 3 weeks. And
Yeah.
so I actually phoned a friend, a gal named Charmaine. She's from New Jersey and she's the female winner from 2016. And I just said, Charmaine, like, things are not good. Like, work, I'm slipping at work a little bit, arguing at home with my wife. I'm abusing caffeine. Like, and there's just no way I'm going to get this thing done. And she said something. She's like, well, what if you just finish for you? And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing ever. Like who cares what I want? Like,
Yeah.
and if you look back at Glenn's history before that, I just quit. Every time things got hard, every time there was supposed signs from God that I was doing it wrong, and really all it was just opposition testing me to
Yeah.
see if I was really going to cave from the pressure or let the pressure create creativity so I could figure it out. And so
Yeah.
I made new commitments. I said, I'm going to double down all my efforts. And when this challenge is done in 3 weeks, I'm not done. Like, I'm going to keep going until they show up to the winner's gym with this big fake giant check, right? And I kind of had my, like, I call it my 3 weeks from gold experience. Have you heard that story from Think and Grow Rich?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, it's about the guy who goes trekking for gold. The really, really short version is he has some success, he loses the line, and he ends up running out of money. He sells everything for pennies on the dollar. The new guy comes in, hires a geologist, seismic expert, and that fault line of gold was disrupted by an earthquake, and it was just 3 feet off. So the story becomes, when you quit too soon, you might just be 3 feet away.
Yeah.
And in my story, I was 3 weeks away from finishing.
Oh, wow.
And my life would be drastically different if I didn't finish what I started. For me, I got really lucky. I got picked as the overall male winner out of like 60,000 people. I got 100 grand. It was a catalyst to a lot of things in my life. And so you have to expect lots of opposition to come when you're answering that call, or you have this idea that's wild, like Mose Masters or any other thing that you're doing. You just have to know that to the level of what that opportunity is will be the level of opposition. And so then you just start accepting that, hey, this is a really big opportunity, which means it's going to be a really big part of the pain and the emotions you go through that are going to be that container for pressure. So
yeah. So just anybody listening, Mose Masters is a program Tara Brenton has put together, and it's a year-long coaching program geared towards marketing your business. And it's like 2 calls a month, and we're going to an island for 5 days, and we're writing a book, and we get to be on Amazon Prime on the show Legacy Makers. And it's a 5-figure program, and it's probably more than I've ever paid for anything just myself. And that's like the steepness of it for me.
Yeah. It's a 5, 6, 7, 10-figure program. Let's just throw it out there that it's well over 50 grand. And
Well, next year it'll probably be 6 figures or more. I guarantee it.
Sure. And there's a reality show based on the island experience. And then you get your own documentary that's, 20, 22 minutes long. And just an opportunity to be very, 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 very uncomfortable around other people who are very, very uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
so, even in the realm of maybe where you're at or me individually, like this doesn't make any logical sense.
Yeah, none.
And so to someone who's new to like really pushing into the discomfort, it's like, oh, good for them. I'm glad they have this ability to like snap their fingers and find
Yeah.
money in a suitcase somewhere. And it's like, you guys, like we're literally trying to live and breathe what we preach on a level we've
Yeah.
never done it before, hoping that
Yeah.
it inspires you to do whatever big thing is on your plate. This thing sounds ridiculously big for Randa and I, at least for me. I'll, like you said earlier, speak for
Yeah.
myself. Like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Like, this makes no sense for a
None.
guy who's had the last year and a half of what I've
Yeah.
had. But I also know that because I've started small and done other big things, like, it's possible. It's totally possible, whatever people are thinking. And the analogy usually is like you would never have the call to be an NBA player if you're a 50-year-old, 5 foot tall,
Hey now.
white
Hey
guy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But there is Spud Webb. I think he was 5'5" or 5'6", and he played in the
Yeah.
NBA. But he had the ability to hear that call, and he made it possible. And so
Yeah.
the point being with that story is, if you hear it, it could be yours. It's yours for the taking, kind of like my answer was. But it's going to come at a cost of a lot of discomfort, depending on what level of discomfort you're on.
Yeah.
But if you
And on
never
the
start,
yeah.
if you never start into that discomfort train, you just stay comfortable, like you're seduced by
Yeah.
comfort. Like,
Yeah.
this phone is amazing. Like, don't you just love like wasting
Yes.
time on it,
Yeah. Who
being
doesn't?
productive? Like, it's
Right?
so easy to be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, I do a morning thought on my stories every morning. It's like a 30-second to a minute quick thought while I'm feeding my animals.
Yeah.
And the day I said yes to Mosaic Masters, my thought for everyone was, nobody that lives a really great life is complacent. So if you want to have a great life, you're going to have to do something uncomfortable. And then
Totally.
Teresa Ford messaged me. She's like, well, you did that today, didn't you? So
Yeah.
anyway, well, our time is up. And I just want to say, I feel like I got a whole coaching session. So thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're quite the person.
No,
I know
really
Amber is
do.
too.
I really do love helping people. I help people for free every day. People do big things. Like my last podcast episode was having a therapist come on who's been bugging me for a year about helping him start a podcast. And I'm like, hey, come on my podcast. I'll help you with the ideas. I'm essentially like coaching him and cheering him on
Right.
and pulling his ideas out.
Yeah.
And I had another gal from the JOA event. We've got her podcast going too.
Awesome.
Like what's really cool about going through uncomfortable things is you acquire knowledge and a path, and it doesn't have to be everybody's path, but it's like, oh, Randa has a podcast. Like, it might be, wow, that's amazing. And some people might be like, well, who the hell cares? Like, and that's okay
Right?
too.
Yeah.
But you're out there doing something new and being uncomfortable, and we're all trying to do that. And I think the message I have is I hope that this inspires people to like stop, get slow, put your phone down, and really just try to hear what's possible for you. And for me, all those answers come while I'm moving. So hiking, walking, moving at the gym, I make the music right. It's not AC/DC pump up stuff. It's like Hans Zimmer composed movie stuff that's still motivating. And you
Yeah.
just open yourself up to what's possible. And eventually all these ideas start coming and you're like, oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's been fun.
You have to start taking steps when you're
Yeah.
asking for miracles.
Yeah. And I think Kira's little board on one of her papers, did you catch it? This will be a good statement, and I'm trying to respect your time, but I love talking to you, obviously. So here's what Kira has to say about asking. Kira Brinton, it is better to not ask than to ask and not do.
Yes, I think about that all the time too. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true.
It'll feel like a lot of stagnation
Yeah,
and overwhelm
sure.
and stuck, rutted behaviors when you hear something that could be yours and you do nothing about it. It's almost like, I don't know, exercise. The more you avoid it, the harder it becomes.
Yep.
So,
Yep. For sure.
yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you, Glenn. I really appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing your time and your words of wisdom and all your experiences and being so transparent. I hope that the listeners today will, I know that they will gain something, but I hope all in all, they will take action on something they've been waiting on, because I'm going to go put some money on my credit card right after this.
You got this. It's just money.
It is just money.
Yeah.
It's going to come around again. It's all going to work out.
Yeah. And how amazing is it that we get to feel what we get to feel? We work so hard to suppress and resist and avoid and react to all this negative stuff. And sometimes you just got to go like sit in it. And I know that sounds really dumb, but it's like once you sit in it, you realize it's not even going to kill you. And then once you get over your little tantrum, you're like, okay, what's the next right step?
Yeah.
What's the next right step? And you just get creative at solving problems and bigger stuff. So if you are listening and you want to do a quick call with me, I'll totally offer my time to you. And what I get out of that is you get to see what I do, and you can kind of be my eyes and ears if someone does fit what my offer is. I would love their help in return. But in the meantime, it's all about them for that call, and we do as much as we possibly can. And I hope that people feel like they gain a friend and a wingman. Someone that'll be like, Randa, like, just be dumb enough to do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen other than feeling your own feelings for you?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yes, please reach out to Glenn. I'm going to have all of his information in the show notes, and be on the lookout for his book. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, I uploaded it to Speechify or some reading app, and I had it read to me, and I was like, dang, this is so good.
That's awesome.
And then I was like crying and laughing and just like learning from myself, and it's been fun to see it come together. But yes, look for the book, Heal the Boy, Forge the Man. We'll probably do some networking once it's ready, but appreciate you, Randa.
For sure. Thanks so much, Glenn. Give Amber a hug for me.
I sure will. I'll give her 2.
Okay. Awesome. Take care.
Bye.
Friends, thank you again for joining me. I hope you heard a message for your heart today, and that you'll come back again soon. Follow along on Instagram at perfectlyandperfectranda. In the words of my grandpa Stratton, do you know how great you is? Happy trails to you. And lots of love, my friends.